Hey, Alex. Welcome to Net Profit.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
Alex, I mean, you've got a background in product design, and you founded Jawbone, one of the world's most highly valued, publicly held consumer electronics companies. But you've now changed your focus. So tell us a bit about State. You guys launched at Disrupt in 2012. What is State?
Well, put simply, it's an opinion network. And what that means simply for users is that anyone, anywhere can express an opinion very quickly and simply and be counted and connected to people who think like them. So the idea is to connect people to what they think rather than who they know or where they live or their socioeconomic statuses.
Great. And I was reading on the State website that you're a proponent of no hashtags, no followers. How does that work?
Well, I mean, things like, followers is a structure that has existed really since the beginning of the age of publishing or distribution of information. There's nothing wrong with it, but what it ends up with is the situation where a small number of people do most of the talking. Hashtags is a clever way that was developed organically by the Twitter community in order to send a message that says, I want this tweet to be associated with this subject. The issue with hashtags is that although they're often quite amusing, they're ephemeral. So they're not actually linked to something that is fixed or that is defined. And what that means is that there's no accumulated intelligence using hashtags. It's always very real time and very flighty.
Okay. Just for the audience, I've got my WeChat window open over here. So send me your questions and we can fire them to Alex. But the next one is people are already sharing their opinions on sites like Quora and Facebook. How's State different?
Well, State's built from the ground up to capture and organize opinions. I think Quora is a great platform, primarily focused on question and answers. And I think a lot of the participants on Quora are people who have time and the skill to answer the questions. So Quora filters the world a little bit like Wikipedia does, in that it attracts the people who are perhaps most qualified to answer the questions. With State, we're explicitly trying to get everyone to participate, because the one thing that everyone is qualified to give is their own opinion. So, for example, take a subject that's probably on the minds of many folks in South Africa with the elections is, what do people think of the ANC and some of the other competing parties? Right. Now, a conventional system, I basically state what I think, and it goes to people who can be bothered to listen to me, who are generally either my friends, although it's questionable whether my friends will listen to me, or the followers I have on Twitter, which of course is, as everyone knows, is not easy to get, right? Now on State, on the other hand, when I state my opinion, I don't need followers. It connects me automatically to everyone who's talking about the ANC. It shows me the zeitgeist of opinions on that. And then it allows me to understand what people who are thinking like me are sharing or talking about elsewhere. And that basically, as you start to use a system more, it enabled fun things like connecting me to someone on the other side of the political spectrum who I didn't realize I had a lot in common.
Okay. But I guess, followers and these things, they promote, people, and essentially the people who most want to be heard get heard. How does State filter?
Well, it's subjective as to which is the real opinion. I always give the example of someone giving an opinion that Saddam Hussein is a hero. That's something that we have to permit, and because there's a lot of people who maybe believe that. So ultimately, the way to make the system fair is to make every opinion count equally. Then the question is how to empower people to discover the things that are going to be valuable to them, which is a separate issue. And I think ultimately, because people's opinions are valuable intrinsically, really our job is to just organize them and make them discoverable and extract insights from them in a way that informs people and helps them make better choices or better decisions if they're in positions of leadership, that sort of thing.
Great. And how does this apply to South Africa? How is it relevant to South Africans?
Well, I mean, South Africa is obviously an advanced country from a technological standpoint, and many others. Social media has already got deep penetration. So just as a country that's likely to be receptive to new technologies, I think it's obviously there. But, you know, it's also a country that is going through elections right now. I think it's a country that is conscious of political issues and the challenges that face any society that's trying to understand better what its people think and do it in a way that is peaceful and efficient. And I'm excited, not, you know, obviously in the case of South Africa too, but for really any country where people are trying to evolve beyond the existing patterns of conflict or argumentation that they currently live in.
I mean, you spoke about it there. You know, this platform could be something that, you know, could be the ideal platform for an extremist.
Yeah, that's true.
The extremists have got us. Let's just see if we can get Alex on the line again. Keep sending in your questions. If you guys, maybe we can, while that's going, just throw up the.
How great this coffee is, but I.
Well, this is a short video about state.
This post is like a page long. How do I shorten this?
Just take out all the vowels.
No. It'll still be like
Seriously.
a page.
Dude, you gonna eat those or just take pictures?
Who's the cutest baby on the internet?
Is this guy always on vacation?
Costa Rica vacay. Do you just like my post about my uncle dying?
Office pic.
No.
Hold still. I'm vining you.
Why are you Instagramming lamps?
How did he get so many followers? He's a dentist.
Hey guys, you on Twitter? Follow me.
We just got 2 retweets.
Sometimes I want to move to another country where I wouldn't have to deal with this stuff.
Isso faz parecer que eu tô me achando?
Hashtag photo of the day.
Hashtag I quit. Just kidding.
Hashtag multitasking.
Hashtag squirmworm.
Hashtag road trip dudes. Not while you're driving, man.
Hashtag YOLOI.
Is anybody even gonna read this?
Besties.
Coffee friends. Mini bagels.
Unsubscribe.
What's up, Facebook?
Oh, look at my new shoes. Unfollow.
Love coffee.
We're going viral.
I don't care about your dog. I don't care about your lunch.
Meu Archie.
Nobody cares about your tree pics.
Driving selfie.
Glaciers.
Desert.
Third world.
Nobody cares.
I'm gonna hide all of you.
Dude, I made the popular page.
Great, we're back with you now live, Alex. We lost you there on the question about extremists.
Yeah, what I was talking to myself. I was saying that extremists benefit from systems that are intrinsically hard to use or inefficient to use. When you make a system simpler to use, you attract the moderates in the middle. So one of the plans of state is to bring down the threshold of engagement to such an extent so that real people who live in the center of a debate, what I call the nuanced or the moderate majority, have an opportunity to express their views, but they don't have to be extremely passionate about the particular issue in order to feel like they can participate. And in so doing, what they do is they marginalize extremist views.
Yeah, I mean, I love the concept. We've got a question here from one of the WeChat guys in the audience. How many users are there on State, and how vast is the demographic?
We never talk about our users or the number of opinions, but we've got people in 90 countries. We've had a lot of great activity. We're only on iOS right now. Android is coming out in a matter of weeks. And we also have a website that's active. But we've had really interesting take-up in places like Turkey, where, much like South Africa, there is there's high penetration of social media, but there's also this like ongoing flux in the political establishment, which people want to talk about. But hopefully that answers your question now.
Yeah, it kind of leads into the next one that we've got from the audience. If you're connected to like-minded thinkers, don't you perpetuate a way of thinking rather than expose them to contrary opinions?
It's a great question. Yeah, I mean, the issue of groupthink or echo chambers is perhaps one of the motivations actually for state itself. From a psychological standpoint, one of the ways in which we entertain opposing views is if we trust the person we're talking to. And conversely, we tend to discount views out of hand when we judge people based on how they look or where they're from or on one thing they've said. So one of the things that we're doing with State is we're connecting people through what they think, not just in a single opinion, but through a spectrum of different views. So, for example, I might be able to connect with someone who agrees with me on 100 things, but I believe in God and he doesn't. And so it's through a kind of bridge of empathy that we allow ourselves to see alternative views. And one of the things that State is doing already, but will be doing more of, is exposing you to divergent opinions from people who you otherwise trust.
Well, I guess that's one of the problems I guess we all feel with platforms like Twitter and Facebook, is you start going around and you're just hearing the same thing over and over, and often it's echoed over and over. How is State different? I mean, how are you dealing with that echoing, sort of the retweeting?
Well, the system, the platform as a whole, the main mechanics on the platform are egalitarian, they're democratic. So everyone's voice counts equally, and it's meritocratic at the level of argumentation. So the best statements for a given point of view rise to the surface, but every point of view is counted. So, and that basically means that if I have a point of view on something, what I'm interested in is the point of view has the greatest possible force behind it. And if someone else can make the argument better than I can, well, then that's good for me too. So there's nothing wrong with meritocracy at the level of the argument itself. But we're fundamentally egalitarian. I think that the way we deal with an echo chamber effect is that the things that you see on State are not driven by the people you know currently. They're driven by the things that you're stating on and the things that you're declaring your interest on. And so as you state more, the system, responds to you better, but also you start to see the effect of your opinions much more clearly.
Okay. It's interesting, we've got another question from the audience about privacy. Is it possible you may not be able to find everyone because they're hidden?
It's always that's always a challenge. In many ways, you need to empower people to discover others as flexibly as possible. So, for example, I may be interested in seeing the people who agree with me most. Or maybe I'm not. I might be interested in actually discovering the people who disagree with me most, because that's the personality I have. I want to challenge myself. So it's really about giving people the tools that they want to go off and do the things they want to do. Ultimately, there's a group of people who will want to initially just talk to their friends or to people they know or to people they agree with. And then eventually they will challenge themselves to talk to people in other countries who they disagree with. But those are some of the exciting phenomena that we're seeing unfolding already on the platform.
Yeah, I'm sure you've seen some amazing sort of demographic data and stuff that's kind of changing your opinion on. When you started State, you started with an idea. How's that changed? Based on the data or the feedback you've got from users?
Yeah, it's funny. I was smiling when your last speaker was on, because I think if you're building products, it doesn't matter how sophisticated or lofty your ideals are or how important your mission might be or may not be. the end of the day, you're making something that people interact with, and that's an emotional experience. And I think that people like systems that are familiar to them, that have a light mental load, and I don't mean that in terms of what they're using it for, but the user interface that they're using it through has to be very simple. And that's, I think, the biggest lesson we've learned. I think from a shifting expectations standpoint, one of the things that I've been excited by is just how many people identify with the need for something like state. There's hardly anyone we come across who doesn't agree in principle with what we're doing.
Great. Just in closing, what do you want to leave with South African entrepreneurs and startups?
Look, we're thrilled to have state deployed in South Africa. And, you know, I would love for South Africa, both with the current iOS app as well as when the Android app comes out around the World Cup, which is not a global event with a lot of opinions. I'm really excited to have South Africa be a leading community to show the capabilities of what happens when people express their opinions authentically and deliberate real issues, whether they're amusing or serious.
Alex, thank you. Alex Asseily, live from London, thank you.